Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on December 8th, 2023 at approximately 4:16 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I personally live by. Now, with this in mind, I've shared these tools with literally thousands of people over the years with varying degrees of success, depending entirely upon their own personal efforts. Okay, so I've talked a lot about the different things that I've done wrong, if you will, the challenges I've gone through. But I'm going to start this off on a slightly different note. And before I get into it, though, we have Joe Stewart in the house with the gold. And Joe, just to be clear, yes, I'm still breathing. Although, in all fairness, last Monday I had a minor heart attack. And then this Tuesday, I tried having a second one. Managed to bypass it. However, that said, am I still breathing? The answer is yes. Okay. Now, with that, am I planning on dying anytime soon? No. Can't say the thought hasn't crossed my mind, in all fairness. About why am I doing this, or why am I even going down this road? Well, I finally figured out why. Okay. In all fairness, with the number of things I've seen over the years, it's time we start turning this back around. Instead of talking about what I've gone through, what I'm going to ask you guys, and I'm going to ask this periodically throughout the night to get as many different answers as I can, or more to the point, as many answers. They may all be the same. Okay. Now, when we are talking about leaders or about people stepping into a leadership position, what is the one quality in your eyes that person really should have, or what's the one quality you feel is necessary in a leader if you're going to pay attention to what's going on? Steve Knox, you are in with the silver. How you doing? Glad you could join us. I have been missing for the last couple of days. Well, last couple of weeks, it's been absolutely brutal because finances took an absolute dump, and then family issues and all kinds of disappointments. I could go into more of it. I'm not going to. Okay. But what is the one quality that you feel is necessary in a spiritual leader, or any leader for that matter, if you're going to take a look at what they're doing and pay any attention to them at all? What is the quality of leadership you're looking for? And yes, I have this neat little thing called a clipboard to make notes with. Okay, because one of the things that we have to do, in my eyes, that I intend to do here is quite simple. Turn this around and drop it back in your lap and see how how everybody can start going, here's the direction that we've got to go. Okay, so you're going to have to pardon the fact that the video keeps pausing. I can't do anything about it. Okay, so if this ends up getting a little drug out, that's the way it's going to have to work. And I have no idea how to correct it, so I will be upgrading my computer as soon as I can. Right now is not the option. Okay, now I get a kick out of it. Okay, no, we won't go there. So again, if you're looking for a leader, for somebody to help turn your life around, and you'll notice I said help. I am not here to turn your life around. I'm here to turn on the lights and go, this is what you and multiple other people may well have been going through. Okay, so what I've got here is a way of making notes for myself. And what I'm curious about is what qualities you see as necessary in a leader. Like I said, it was time for me to step out of the shadows and really walk into the light and go, okay, this is where I'm standing. This is what I've seen. Now, let's see what we can do about turning it around. Okay. Before we go very much further, while you're thinking about that, okay, I have right here. I was actually seriously looking at leaving everything sit until Monday. Okay, and then I got through a few things today and went, no, it's time to change it now. Okay, it's time to literally be the change that I desire to see take place. It ain't taking place if I don't start making it happen. And I have spent my entire life, well, politely put, avoiding life. Okay, I've spent it hiding from people. This has not worked out well for anyone. Now, on Monday, okay, just to clear things up, we are looking at on Monday, starting on Monday. Well, we're sticking with the alien side. Right now, we're looking at the paranormal, and I'll get to part of that in half a second. Okay. On Monday, under the alien line of things, we're going to take a look at the beginning of the consortium. Where did it come from? How did it come about? You'll love this, because ultimately, LA Moon, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Ultimately, the consortium started with the Mobians. Okay, now, and I'll cover this much more detail on Monday. But to be clear, the Mobians were Earthlings that literally colonized Mobius. Okay, they are the same as we are, except much higher control over their higher senses. On Tuesday, looking at the gaming world, we are going to be looking at creating a new character. I'm talking about that fictional character that you use for gaming. And you'll see the connection here in the very near future here as I'm going through it. On Wednesday, we are going to look at what does the future hold for you? What kind of influence do you have over your own future in spite of whatever you've been through? Okay. And how do you go about capitalizing on that? Okay. This is where you get to start making choices. Well, actually, you get to start today. Because, like I said, I'm looking for what qualities do you see are really necessary in a leadership position? And I will, before the end of the night, although I'll be asking that question repeatedly, before the end of the night, I will tell you the one quality that I have uncovered. And in all fairness, my father was the one that uncovered it. Now, on the 15th, we are going to take a look at literally, and this is likely to upset a few people, but that's okay. I got over that at this point. But on Friday the 15th, okay, in other words, next Friday, we're going to look at the functionality of creation. Where is the link between creation and evolution? And why does it work? Then on the 16th, next Saturday, and I'm hoping you guys are going to love this one. Bear in mind, I'm going through these steps myself, effective immediately. Okay, on the 16th, we're going to take a look at where you're standing, okay, and go, how do you create a new you in your current situation, regardless of how you got to where you are? Now, again, like I said, the one question I'm looking at today is what do you see as the necessary qualities of a leader that you would be willing to walk behind? Or better yet, walk beside. Okay, I've been through this over many lifetimes. I've repeated this process a number of times, and I haven't seen a whole lot of change. But I think the biggest mistake I've been making, okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the biggest mistake I've been making is going, here's the path we have to go down, and forgetting that ultimate question. What do you see as a way to change your life, regardless what's wrong with it, regardless how you got there? Derek, how are we, Desiree? Glad you could join us. Oh, okay. Derek is in under Desiree's name. And this is great. How you doing, Derek? Glad you could join us. Hope things are going well. The reality of life is this. We have to decide, first and foremost, if you're going to follow somebody, if you're going to pay attention. And I mean, I'm amazed that I get anybody listening to me at all, but that's another issue. Right now, we have 578 subscribers. That was not good for the calculator. So, if I take 578 listed subscribers, and we'll simply multiply that by, I'm just giving it a random, because I'm going to do it the same way that you look at seeing mice in your house. Okay. If you see one mouse, the standard rule in pest control is if you see one mouse, you've got at least 6 others that are hiding in the house that you haven't seen. With this ratio in mind, okay, if we've got 578 subscribers, at any given time, we multiply that by 6. Whoops. 578 times 6 equals, we have 3,458 potential listeners. Now, it may well be over that. Okay. The thing is, if we're going to change this world, Derek is going, if you could please say prayers, strong prayers for both of our children. They have something similar to the coronavirus. Absolutely there, Derek. We will absolutely do what we can and send as much positive healing energy to them as possible. Okay. And rest assured, there's a lot available out there. Okay. But with this in mind, okay, just a thought for you and for Desiree. When you've got the moment while your kids are sleeping, okay, or for that matter, while they're awake. Okay. While whether the kids are asleep or awake, doesn't matter. Take your hand, put it palm down on the solar plexus. Okay, this is right over the heart and the lungs. Okay, concentrate while you sit there, and you can rub your hand, rub your chest if you'd like. Okay, concentrate on one word: heal. You don't have to know the specifics. The doctors don't have to have a clear diagnosis. Now, for pity's sakes, if you're working with the trust them, follow what they're telling you. Okay, what I'm talking about is something in addition to what you're doing, to what the medical society is telling you. Okay, this is not a replacement. This is a booster. Okay. Now, very necessary at this point that you have to, it's really important that you hold on to that belief that they will come through this. Now, I can tell you, I'm not sensing either one of them dying. Not anytime soon. I mean, in all likelihood, they will die, but you're likely to be dead first. Don't take that as a worrisome thought, because we're looking at them being in their 70s. I'm guessing you're not going to live another 70 years. But we will absolutely put as much energy into it as we can. Okay. Now, do understand, you've got to believe it's possible. Your kids honestly don't have to believe it. They just simply have to lay there and absorb it. And that's pretty easy if they're worn out. Okay. But I can tell you from practical experience, it is that specific maneuver that I used years ago to bring my father-in-law at the time out of a 6-week coma that the doctors had said, we're sorry, he's dead. Okay, we can't do anything, he's going to pass. Okay, using what I just described, and in my case, I never even touched him. I just held my hands over top of him. Okay, in your case, it's your kids. We're talking the solar plexus. Physical contact is certainly a good thing. Okay, now again, when we are talking about deciding on what a leader is, what are some of the qualities you see as the qualities of an actual leader? Okay, and yes, I have got my clipboard handy to make notes, because what's going to happen is I'm going to take this information and build on it over the next little while. Okay, this is why I've got the week laid out, and I'm now starting to lay things out to get the rest of it organized. Now, where did I put it? Right there. I've already gone through 2 pots of coffee today, so I figured this is just straight water. But that would be the biggest thing that we have to look at this point. Okay. Now, here's the other question that goes hand in hand. In your eyes, do you see yourself? Celeste, how are we doing? Celeste Sevilla has entered the room. And by the way, I forgot to do something here. We had Joe in with the gold. Steve Knox in with Joe Stewart in with the gold. Steve Knox in with the silver. LA Moon has arrived with the bronze, and Derek White, under Desiree White's name, is in with honorable mention. Now, in your eyes, like I said, I am interested in what qualities you see as the viable qualities or the necessary qualities required in what you consider that sounded good, what you consider a leader. Now, here's the other side of that question. In your eyes, do you feel that you are a leader? Or do you feel you desire to be a leader? And if so, what's lacking in your repertoire, in your eyes? Okay, and like I said, before probably somewhere around the 6 o'clock mark, I will let you know what the one quality is that I feel is absolutely necessary in leadership. Derek, the ant people are the Talons. Okay, we are not talking like the Cylons. Not that I'm aware of, although I do know the Talons did try and settle on Mars. The Martokians had a bit of a disagreement with them. This is one of the reasons why I look at the idea of humans going, oh, we're going to colonize Mars. Mars is occupied. This would be akin to, let's say, oh, how about if we go with Borneo colonizing a portion of the US or Canada? They're going to colonize North America. Okay. That's not exactly going to work all that well. Okay. But no, I have not run into an ant. Now, this I shouldn't say there isn't one. I've never run into one. Okay. Now, it is quite possible, because there's lots of other sentient races on Earth, as well as the other planets. But the Martokians are the ones that actually are the protectors for Mars. Okay, and by the way, no, Martokians are not little green men. They are green, but they are not little. Yes, absolutely. You see, millennia back, mankind is now starting to find on Mars that have some incredible markers. What have we got? Love that. We've got this one marker that sits right smack in the middle of the way. But Joe's going, it's just my opinion, but my Facebook photo may be reaching more people than I know of. If that is so, that's great. Who those people are on Facebook, I don't know. And this is the whole catch. Okay, and I agree with you there, Joe. Quite often we reach people that we do not even suspect we're reaching. Okay, I hear from people periodically going, I saw you on YouTube. I'm like, okay, understand. I've gone through that before, and I'm going to do my level best to keep this focused on the critical factor here of what quality makes an effective or a good leader in your eyes, not in mine. I will tell you the one quality I'm sitting on and that I haven't said anything about. I will tell you that probably in a little over an hour here when we get to about 6 o'clock Pacific. Right now we are at what? About 20 to 5. Okay, so we're looking at close to an hour and a half. But something we have to remember and would be wise to remember in every one of your cases, whatever you do, whatever you get involved in, okay, people watching you are going to react to it. Children, especially the really tiny ones, are going to strive to emulate what they see. This is why it is so critical that whatever you're doing, however you got to where you are, it is critical that you take serious consideration of the image you're putting out there. Are you putting out an image that says, I'm striving to be congenial. I'm striving to be friendly. Or are you putting out the energy that is building fear and distrust towards you? Okay, the choice of how you do that is up to you. I will turn as many lights on as I can, understanding that I am already implementing these tools. Only I've spent my life procrastinating and avoiding dealing with things. Okay, therefore, that has to come to a stop. The procrastination thing. I keep thinking about stopping procrastination, but I keep putting it off. Okay, and then sooner or later you get to the point where you just don't bother doing it. But when you look at a leader, okay, a follower is pretty cut and dried. And there are a staggering number of followers out there. Now, bear in mind, I am talking about what I've seen based on well over 100,000 clients, okay, over the years. Now it's time to step out and say, okay, time to get off our tail feathers, get out of the shadows, and step into the spotlight and go, okay, here's what we're doing. Okay, to this end, I am putting all of the tools that I've got to work that I've already got in hand. I'm putting every one of them to work that I can. Now, the neat part about it is one of those things before I get done today is to find out exactly where I'm standing financially. Now, yes, I told you the other day, and we're going to go through that with you as well. Okay, told you the other day I'd cleared off the debt. I did. But since that point, I have covered all of my advertising. All my utilities are paid off. My year's advertising budget has been spent. Okay. And now it's a question of turning around and bringing everything full circle to get back on track. And this is what we are going to work together on. I'll put the tools out there. I cannot make the changes for you. But when you're looking for a leader, let's face it, when we look at the leaders that are in positions of power right now, are they doing the job that you feel they should be doing? Okay. If not, what are you in a position to change? Desiree, and keep doing that. This is what I mean, Derek. I am glad to hear that. I do feel for you that you had the 80,000 stolen from you. The really funny part about it is I'm fighting tooth and nail to keep my head above water, but I'm actually owed a staggering amount of money. But I'm not going to complain about that right now. But no, in all fairness, Derek, I didn't think you had forgotten about us. Okay. Do yourself a favor. Get your head on straight first. Okay. The fact of the matter is, I have to concentrate on it, and you have to. And I mean, each and every one of you has to take your finances seriously. And where are we? Okay. Now, Celeste is going, I'm on disability pay, and my YouTube channel has been shadow banned for 6 years. Hopefully, your help can help me, please figure out a way to have money to live off each month. Now, I will tell you this. I'm presuming, Celeste, that you said you're on disability. Disability in the finances, we are going to turn things around. We're going to be focusing on that. I'm working out a schedule to make sure I cover everything as we go along. Now, here's a bizarre question for you there, Derek. I know you know how to make money. Do you know how to control the spend, to guide the spending of it? Okay. And we're going to go through all of that while I'm looking at this issue. I think it's Saturday I've got set up, is it not? On Saturday, we are looking at, she cannot see that at all. Okay. Saturday is where we are going to be, Saturdays is more to the point, is where we are going to be covering things like designing rebuilding your finances, which is quite frankly a critical issue. Taking a look at the state of the energy in your house, the way you look to yourself. Never mind the rest of the world. The whole catch about building a new you is to build the one in the mirror that you're happy with. Okay. Now and we're going to be focusing on that in stages over the next several months. I finally decided, I looked at all the things I've been going through and all the things I've seen other people going through and going, okay, what's the common denominator? Okay, one of the big factors here, okay, yeah, a lot of people run into that there, Derek. Derek goes, yes, I've turned into a boring person. Don't go out much now that we have kids. The fact you don't go out much is, this is a normal part of taking on the responsibility of guiding the kids. But here's the other kicker for that. If you knew how to do it, what would you like to teach your kids that you may not know how to do? Okay. What would you like to figure out how to teach your kids to ensure they have a better life, a more balanced life than what you've got? Okay, and this again brings us back to that thing of what are the main qualities that you see as necessary in a leader. Okay, this is the first thing that we've got to find out, because I will tell you, if you're like most people, and this is based on well over 100,000 clients, okay, In other words, a small city worth of people. Okay, if you're like most people, your life, I do not like hiccups. I've mentioned that before. Okay, if you're like most people, you're caught in a rut primarily because of one of two factors. One, you've got no clue how to break out of it, or two, you are comfortable with the way it is, so there's no reason to change it. Okay, you know the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, now what do we got here? Yeah, Derek's just going, I enjoy family more, so it works out good. And that's the whole kicker to it. Okay, one of the things that I'm looking at is teaching myself a number of different factors because, oh, by the way, blew the printer all across the room the other day, wiped out the electronics in it. So I'm down a printer. Great, works out well. Okay, but if you're looking, okay, let's try that in English. Okay, when we start looking at the different types of people we have in this world, what makes a good quality leader? Okay, that's the thing that we have to really identify. And there's a lot of reasons why I'm asking that. If I'm going to step out of the shadows, point blank, okay, I've decided that I cannot any longer afford to sit back and just let the world do what it's doing. If I just sit back and do nothing and say nothing, like I've done for the last 55 years, then frankly, I'm as big a problem as everybody else. Okay, so I came to the conclusion it is time to step out of the shadows and go, okay, what can I do to light a path that more people are at least curious enough to look at following as compared to the path the society is going down right now. On the current path, we have a really cute little problem. Okay, and that really cute little problem right now is that this path that we are currently on has been followed multiple times over the centuries, all with the same outcome. Now, let me ask you this. Are you happy with where your life is? I know I'm looking in the mirror going, I'm not happy with my life. Okay, so I've laid out a bunch of things I'm going to be changing. But let us just make certain. When we take a look at the creation of the new you, that will be focused on Saturday. Net result, once a week. That's where we're going. Okay, now, the reality is all of this is tied to the same thing. How do you make your life better than what it has been? How do you set the stage so that the people you care about have a light that they can follow to potentially make their lives better than what they've been living? Okay, these are just some of the things we have to look at. And I will tell you, well, we really don't have to. The choice is 100% yours. Okay, but in my opinion, it is imperative if we're going to change this world for the better, we have to get off our tail feathers collectively and start making adjustments. Okay, so with this in mind, okay, and yes, I know I've repeated this question multiple times. Okay, and I intend on continuing to do so. The thing is, when you go to build a wall, it starts with the placement. Hopefully, it starts with a little bit of planning, but the actual building of a wall or of a bridge starts with the placement of the first brick and deciding on identifying what you see as a leader as a leadership quality is the first brick in building that bridge. Okay. And this is just the way I'm looking at it. I figure, the last couple of weeks has been a nightmare on my end. And, in all fairness, I just about had to cancel my live stream altogether. That had to do more with being dead than anything else. And, I will have to, just correct me if I'm wrong there, Joe, but the 1984 one starring George C. Scott, that's the black and white. No, the one that I fell in love with, I still agree with you. The Christmas Carol in that movie, okay, with the past, present, and future Christmas, that movie I absolutely love. The one that I think his name was couldn't have been Aleister Crowley, but it was a little earlier than that one. Absolutely agree with you there, Celeste. Celeste is saying kindness and compassion should be key traits of a leader, and the amount of poor people under that care should be non-existent. Well, and here's the whole kicker to it. Okay, number one, I absolutely agree with you regarding the kindness and compassion. But where it comes to the amount of poor people under their care should be non-existent, I agree with you in as much as if the leader has that kind of access to money, then absolutely the wealth should be shared as much as it can. To this end, okay, now there will be poor people under, absolutely. What do we got here before I go anywhere? Kindness and compassion. Just writing this down, because like I said, I'm making notes for future reference as well. Oh, Derek, I could not agree with you more. Yeah, absolutely, Celeste. And thanks for the clarification. If you're a leader, I do agree with you. The leader should encourage everybody to help out the poor. Okay, if people are struggling, and I mean, when you're talking about, like Derek said, they're spending 200 plus million on one fighter jet. For pity's sakes, 200 plus million could put how many housing units in place to get the homeless off the street, to help the veterans that have already put in their time. Okay, now do not get me wrong. Money alone will not solve the problem. Kindness and compassion absolutely are necessary. Derek, there's a reason I don't watch the news, because I know this takes place. So we have compassion and kindness as key traits. What else makes up a good leader? Okay. And like I said, all we're doing right this second is I decided, okay, I was going to postpone coming on air for a couple more days because my stress level has been insane. Okay. Fortunately, much as my heart's been off kilter, my blood pressure has been sitting absolutely beautifully. Don't ask how I pulled that off. I can tell you the way I'm laying everything out. All of these changes we're talking about. Okay. Philip, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Where are we here? And Celeste is going wisdom and respect for life and nature would probably be good traits as well for the long term. Absolutely. Now, what do we got here? Wisdom and respect. There we go. Like I said, I'm writing these down because what's going to end up happening is I'm going to take this information and start putting it out, and start getting it out properly, or at least what I consider properly. Okay. The big thing we have to realize is we have spent, and when I say we, I'm talking the collective we, have spent centuries turning our guidance over to the religious community that talks about fear, damnation. You're going to go to hell if you don't do exactly what I say. Okay. We have spent the last several centuries listening to politicians going, you got to keep a balanced budget, and they totally disregard it, it would appear. Okay. We've got business people claiming to help the poor, to help the sick, that are doing absolutely jack, in my opinion. There are the few exceptions. And again, if what I'm telling you, if it does not apply to you, then don't take it on. The biggest thing we have to remember is we can keep pointing the finger. Oh, God is punishing us because we didn't do what we were told. God gave you free will, free choice. He did not give you freedom from consequence. Okay. This is just the reality behind it. And that's a topic we will get into down the road. Okay. But we spent centuries letting other people say, this is the way to a brighter future. Do this, you'll get better. Follow me, I'll take you to the promised land. No freaking way. Okay. I will tell you this. You ask me a question, I will tell you this is what I see happening. Am I perfect? I know exactly how to dig myself into a crater and a half. Okay. Take, for instance, this. Not even a month ago, I was debt free. Okay. Because I got all my utilities dealt with and everything else. I've already wiped out a third of my credit card available limit. But my debts are all gone, aside from the credit card now. And my advertising budget for the next year is spent. Okay. So I don't have to put any more into it. I just have to get it cleared. Well, that's just it. Okay. And again, that brings to mind there's something, Derek. What do we got? Philip goes, my stress level. Whoop. Oh, Steve goes, a good leader can inspire people. And absolutely. And hopefully this is done as inspire them to be better people, to be good, nice people. Now let me ask you this. Do you consider an inspiring person somebody that talks a good game and goes off and does their own thing, or somebody that talks about the idea of being better and walks down the same road they're talking? Okay. Absolutely agree there, Celeste. Okay, I absolutely concur with you. Okay, Celeste is just saying it's like people stop treating the planet like home and more like a product. As in, oh, I've got plastic. I'm hearing people complain that mankind, that at least in my area, the grocery stores have turned back to paper bags. Paper bags and cardboard boxes as compared to using plastic. Now let's look at the reality here. Plastic takes forever and a day to break down. Cardboard and paper breaks down overnight. Okay. Now, this in mind, I hear people complaining about it consistently. I'm going like, I'm quite happy they went back to paper bags. Okay. The cloth ones that you can reuse absolutely are important. But as far as disposable goes, paper is, it is, especially now that they know how to recycle paper, and press it into recycled paper. This is fantastic. This is why I say there is hope, but we've got to take control of it. And I mean control in your own life. Now, we do have here that a good leader is kind, compassionate, is wise, and does respect the mother, does respect nature, also inspires other people. Now, what other qualities make a good leader? Okay, identify them as a good leader in your eyes. And bear in mind, these qualities we're talking about do not apply just to people. This applies to every single species I've ever looked at. Every one of them, leadership is designed the exact same way. Okay, and it's time to bring awareness back that first and foremost, the future is not in the hands of the so-called elites. It is not in the hands of the so-called spiritual guides. The future is not in my hands. My future is in my hands. Okay, when I'm talking about what is required, I'm referring to I'm not happy with my life, so this is what I'm doing. This is what's working. The idea here is to find out what is not working in your life. Now, who was it that asked here? I gotta go back up here. Oh, there we are. And it was Celeste. Okay. One thing to keep in mind, Celeste, just jumping back to your issue around finances and how to make them work. Number one, have you and this applies to any one of you, have you by any chance taken the time to really break down what you owe? Okay, what your expenses are. Have you broken that down in a literal list on either paper or a computer? Doesn't matter which, where you can actually see what you're looking at. Okay, I'm just scrolling back down here. Yeah, see, this is, I'm just looking at the comments being made here. And, this is why I say I'm not the only one striving to get this message across. But the people that are promoting, separation, dissemination of negative information, the ones that are promoting fear and isolation, they've got way better marketing. What we've got to do, yeah, and that's where you start there, Celeste. Okay, first and foremost, I will warn you, a budget itself, if you're not, because budgets are great if you know exactly how much money you've got coming in. And if you're on disability, okay, then you are one of these few people, one of these many people that can say, I know I'm getting X dollars in, and therefore a budget will work. But it's imperative you stand your ground on it. And one thing I will tell you, and this is going to sound like the weirdest way to make money work in your favor. Okay, when your check comes in, pick something you enjoy. Like, let me ask you this. Okay, do you enjoy a chocolate bar or a bag of chips or a cup of coffee? Something really inexpensive. Okay, pick something you enjoy because you're on a limited budget. So let's face it, if you enjoy traveling, you're not doing that yet. But if there is something, anytime, how you doing? In all fairness, I wasn't planning on being on tonight. With the last couple of weeks, I was seriously looking at leaving it alone until Monday. Okay, but I finally got my head on straight and figured, okay, I can keep procrastinating. I can keep putting things off. Or I can go, okay, step out of the shadows, turn the lights on, and see what we can make cook. Okay, it's that simple. I'm no longer willing to sit back and say, no, I can just ignore this. I really can't. By ignoring the way the world is running, all I am doing is essentially going, go ahead, guys, run right smack into the wall I can see you running into. And rest assured, there's a pretty big part of me that has looked at the world like that and gone, you guys are walking into a wall. I know this. I've tried to say something about it. What do we got? I miss somebody coming in here. Football, I'd love to give you some suggestions, but we are talking about electronics. If your fryer keeps turning off, my personal opinion would be you unplug the thing and it won't turn off anymore. Of course, it won't turn on anymore, but, unfortunately, I am the last person to ask about electronics. I think, anyway. Okay, but I'm certain somebody else in this room has some inclination. But we can continue looking at the other people, at the elites, at the mainstream religions, at the minor stream religions, at the government, and go, when are they going to straighten this out? Stop waiting. Make it happen in your own life first. You guys all start making it happen in your lives. The side effect is it's going to happen in the people around you as well. And then we'll go into more detail on that as we go along. Okay. Now, the reality of it, from my standpoint, is pretty simple. Okay. We've got qualities here of leadership. This is only one of the concepts I'm going to be dealing with. Okay. I just figured this is the first step that we've got to start figuring out. Football, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I definitely missed you coming in. At least I think I missed you coming in. The thing is, when you go to build a ship, okay, and by the way, this is something I am building myself. Not exactly a physical boat that if we end up with another flood, the boat will float. I am building something much more complex. Okay, and yeah, I realize I said I've got minimal finances to work with and playing both ends against the middle. I absolutely am. Okay, I spent my life doing this. My hope is that I can actually give you guys something to work with so you don't walk down the same road I did. Okay, so where it comes to, and I know there's more qualities to leadership. Like I said, I'm going to do my best to stay focused on certain aspects. But Celeste, when you take a look at what you're spending, okay, I know you've got, where are we here? Absolutely agree there, Philip. Doesn't matter what you call God, what you believe in. People are people. Okay. And on the whole, people desire to be treated with respect, to have their concerns actively heard, to keep a roof over their head, to have proper food in their stomach, proper shelter, well, that'd be a roof over your head, proper water, and we're talking clean. We are not talking about people going, oh, you're living on the street, so you're less important, or hey, you got a mansion, you're special. No, you're not. There is not one millionaire I've met that is any more important in my eyes than the poorest of people living on the street. Not a one of them. Which, by the way, bothers a lot of people that are, so to speak, well off. But Celeste, and this applies to all of you, your next check, whatever it's coming from, whether it is social assistance, whether it's disability, whether you're working, whether you've got a career or you've got a business, the very next check that comes in, before you pay thing one, literally go out and buy yourself something very inexpensive. And what I mean by very inexpensive, take yourself out and have a cup of coffee, buy a chocolate bar, buy a bag of candy. Okay, whatever you feel that you like, that is a luxury. Okay, get thinking about that aspect of you enjoying your time. Okay, now I recommend taking a look at your paycheck, whatever that check is. Take 1% off the top, pop that into your pocket. That is mad money. Pay you before you pay anything else. 1% won't do any functional damage in most cases, but you gotta watch your own finances to that end. Okay, but that 1% will literally change the feel of the money coming in to I'm working and paying my bills. From I'm working to pay my bills to I'm working and paying my bills. This is something that is absolutely critical. Okay, and this is why I'm working on it the way I am. Absolutely there, Celeste. And don't kid yourself, this won't make you feel any better. Most people are taught when you're struggling, first thing you do, cut back, don't buy this, don't buy that, don't spend. This is a fallacy. Okay, I've been bankrupt twice at the guidance of so-called professionals. I will tell you, you can live in the idea of lack. Cut back, carry on. This is what we're told. Be afraid of not having money. Absolutely, you can live that way. But the moment you start treating yourself, and don't go overboard, we are talking one check, one chocolate bar. Okay, if you're struggling with money, one check, one chocolate bar. It's not a big kicker, and that $2 is not likely to create a big problem. But instead of concentrating on cutting back, make sure you're not overspending. Okay, this is why I now have, for the next year, my advertising budget for Inner Voice Enterprises has been spent. Somebody phones me up and goes, oh, we want to spend and we want you to pay this. I'm going to be literally looking at it. Look, doors closed, already got the expenses. And one of them is on the chopping block for next year if they don't smarten up, for 2025. Okay, now the neat little part, of this whole thing is we start acting now, we can get this whole world. And I mean, when I talk about the whole world, your world is your home, where your house is, your primary living space, your primary workspace. This is your world. When we take a look down the religious side and they talk about the Great Flood wiping out the world, understand something rather critical. The world was the Mediterranean Ocean. Okay, the Mediterranean Sea. That was the entirety of their world. Okay, we are not talking about North and South America, Australia, Antarctica. We are not talking about them all being buried in water. Okay, we are talking about their world, which was the Mediterranean basin. That was the world that got wiped out. Okay, it has been blown so far out of proportion. And yeah, I know that's going to upset a lot of people. And have happy. I cannot control how other people see the world. Only what I recall. Okay, now where it comes to your world, okay, again, I am building a list of the different, and leadership is is only one of the words I'm going to be looking at. Got a whole bunch of other ones coming up over the next several weeks. Okay, that I'll be dealing. Well, yeah, because this whole idea right now, I am simply looking at linking the paranormal to the normal. Tonight is Friday. I just figured, what the heck? Let's get a look at the backbone of this, because here's the critical reality of it. The so-called paranormal, well, what you call the paranormal world, I call the normal one. Okay, paranormal literally means kind of like normal. Well, for me, kind of like normal, uncontrolled telepathy is just a normal thing. It's nothing new, it's nothing spectacular. Empathy is just something I've learned to live with. And many of you are struggling to live with it because, frankly, you're trying to quantify it without taking empathic resonance into consideration. You're striving to pop it into a different type of pocket. Okay, but where it comes to and do understand, I've spent my entire life ignoring finances. You want to struggle like I am when you're 60? You're more than welcome to it. I can show you exactly how to do it, but I would rather guide you away from those paths. Because I don't know about you, but it just didn't work that well in my eyes. Okay, so it really boils down to this. And again, guys, if you're new here, if you're just listening in for the first time, or if you're in the room and you haven't done so, absolutely, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of the thing. That would be greatly appreciated. Okay, I've had a couple of weeks where, well, my health went into a tailspin. Net result, I went, I can't deal with this extra thing. But that's because I had chosen not to get focused on on what was necessary, which is why these tools I'm talking about right now are being implemented as we speak. Okay, this is not a question of do this because it'll work, it may work for you. This is a question of been there, done that. This is how I got out of it. This is how literally thousands of people utilizing the tools I've talked about have turned around and got things working. Okay, now I talk about being a spiritual guide. Well, the reality of it is this. Where it comes to the spiritual guidance of things, yes, I walked out of the area. Okay, where it comes to the spiritual guidance of things, these little books, okay, the Believe in Your series, I am going to put the effort into getting the next one out as well. Yes, I did tell you, I have quit going, oh, give it another week, we'll have the book out. Because I was doing what I was told by the government, okay, I lost 5 months of work. Okay, and sadly, that 5 months was literally on Races of the World. So I'm having to rebuild. This is why I finally said, scrap it. When it hits the market, I'll let you know. Until then, consider it in the works. But, and where is my funny little thing here? Way down there. That one. Go down here. If you've got questions, for pity's sake, guys, if you've got questions, even if they're not in the same topic we're discussing right now, absolutely drop them into the chat room in all caps. Okay. And either all caps, partial caps, even a wavy hand to get my attention. Okay. I will do my best to answer them. If I don't answer them, absolutely repost them. Okay. And also, this email here is the email that you utilize. Where are we here? This is the email you to get directly to me. If you've got a question you'd like to ask that you don't feel comfortable posting in the chat room, absolutely drop me a line to that email address. because I do my best to keep up on it at this point, or leave a message in the comments after the show, or during it for that matter. Okay, these are just ways of getting the answers sorted around. Now, let's shrink that down. Okay. By the way, just a curiosity thing, I'm just noticing, Derek, just a real quick question for you. Okay, I know your kids have got to be sleeping right now, but are they still breathing functionally well? I mean, I realize they're sick. That's just a terrible thing for any parent. Okay, but are they at least breathing steadily? And no, obviously you don't have to answer if you don't desire to. But when we talk about, making changes, I'm talking about doing things that help you feel better. Because I will tell you this, if you're following what you've been following and you're miserable, you're going to spend more money trying to convince yourself you're happy than you're linked. Okay, point in fact, leadership, whether you're human, whether you're a human, an ancient race, an off-worlder, animal, vegetable, mineral, elemental, it doesn't matter. Leadership is leadership. It's a quality that comes into play in any corporeal entity. Okay, oddly enough, though I'm sure most of you won't recognize it, oddly enough, even grass has leadership qualities. Okay, yes, they take place on a very refined level that you're likely not to see. Okay, but we're talking about the qualities that comprise leadership. Now, thus far, where are we here? Thus far, we have kindness, compassion, wisdom, a respect for nature, and in an inspiring approach to life. These are things that people have said are required to indicate a good leader. Now, bear in mind, inspiring to do something that coincides with society's acceptable paths, when they are based on fear, this is not inspiration. This is called terrorism, in my eyes. Okay, it's emotional terrorism is what it really boils down to. I remember years ago, I had a friend of mine, she and her boyfriend broke up. And she turned around and went to her boyfriend and goes, if you don't come back to me, I'm going to commit suicide. Then she made the mistake of asking me what I thought of their getting back together. Okay. And Steve is adding, a good leader has integrity and is a good communicator. Absolutely agree with you there. Just writing it down here. And like I said, I don't expect you to read it, but as you can see, I'm making notes of the qualities of what I'm referring to. There is a reason for this, and you'll see that in the next little while. I'm not giving you dates anytime soon, but this is one of the things I'm working on. One of the biggest issues for me is I am a really good procrastinator. Okay, I got so good at procrastinating, I eventually got to the point I just didn't do it anymore. And I don't mean I didn't do the procrastinating. I mean I went, not doing that, whatever it was. But we have to realize as a society that we desire the world to change. It is not up to the politicians. It is not up to the corporate leaders. It is not up to the spiritual guides that are sitting in churches temples, covens, or whatever group you're talking about. Okay, I will tell you, I am giving you tools that I am personally using, but it took me 60 years to put this all together. Now, you've got a choice. Figure it out yourself. I am not the best of the best. Okay, I do not have all the answers. I'm quite willing to accept when I find out something that I've done something a little off kilter. I'm quite willing to accept the fact that I'm not perfect. Matter of fact, I'd be shocked if I was. Semper Fi there, Black Dragon. How you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, what we're looking at right now, if you hadn't noticed there, Black, is we are looking for what you guys consider qualities necessary in a good leader. Okay. And let's face it, teaching people to fear what is going on to get them to do what they're told does not make sense. It does not make for a good leader. Now, I will tell you, okay, this funny little book here. Yes, this is the Bible. Okay, and I am currently, where are we here? I am now at Deuteronomy 14. I told myself, so I got a long way to go, but I gave my father my word on his deathbed I would read this. Okay, now with that in mind, am I going to turn over and start going, oh, it says right here in the Bible, this is what you got to follow? I'll tell you right now, not going to happen. I'm also not going to go, oh, look, here's a book called Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. This has all the answers. No, it doesn't. This just has the backbone of the tools that I personally used to change my life around. Okay, and all of these books are being put out at the point, and the address, the email address I put out earlier, okay, is the one that works to get a hold of me. It's the same email address that works on PayPal. Okay, and that's why they are there at $20 a pop in your hand. Yeah, you know, I kind of got that impression. Black goes, been having connection problems, but I am trying to get around it. Yeah, that's the whole kicker. You know, we rely on electricity so much, and on the whole scheme here, people have forgotten how to speak to each other a lot of the time. You know, like this funny little thing. In case you hadn't noticed, I upgraded. This is one of the things I ended up spending money on. Right. Now, get that out of my way. Now, here's the cell phone I was using. And as you can see, that's the cord. This phone was heating up so badly it was almost burning my hand. So now I've got this one. Okay. Ended up upgrading. It's still an iPhone. But, like I said, only change what has to be done. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. My problem was my phone was getting ready to die. And I hate to tell you this, but you notice they're kind of necessary in today's world. But when we start looking at how to change the world, number one, we don't do it by going up onto Parliament Hill or onto, into City Hall and throwing a speech out there. The world changes by getting off your tail feathers and altering the way your world is working in your life. Okay, now right now, as you can see, I've been working on my bed again. But this paperwork all has to get dealt with today before I go to bed. That is all files I still have to go through. But understand, 2 days ago, my bed was completely covered in files. Oh, okay. We will deal with that one head on, Joe. Number one, I do agree with you wholeheartedly. All these mass shootings absolutely need to stop. Oddly enough, Black Dragon's social network was always there. It was just, it's a lot more broad reaching at this point. But let's go back to Joe's comment here. Okay, all of these mass shootings absolutely need to stop. I 100% agree with you. I was talking to a young lass the other day from the States, and he said, all of these mass shootings are not, the ones by kids in schools, are not happening just because somebody wants to go and kill people. His observation was that they're happening because people are not listening to the changes that are necessary. Now, stepping one step further forward to go down the rest of that statement there, Joe. Joe goes, but I say this, where is God when all of this is happening? God is right where he always was. Okay. Now, whether you call God Allah, Buddha, Shiva, it doesn't matter. God, the creator, whoever you see as the creator, gave you free will and free choice. Okay. To make this world what you chose to. God did not give you freedom of consequence. The people that are pulling the triggers are choosing to shoot people. They are choosing, the ones that are choosing to steal from the poor to take to the rich are choosing to steal from those people. God is not coming down to straighten this out. Okay, this is not the first time that civilization has come to the brink of destruction. Okay, but you are right. Every time it happens, okay, you'd think mankind would learn something. What people have to be told is God, he's not sitting back there going, oh, I made it, now you can deal with it. What he did was, and this is where people will get hung up. Number one, God is not coming to straighten this mess out. He gave you the tools. He gave you the free will to change it yourself. What he didn't give you was carte blanche to tell everybody else you have to do it without doing it yourself. This said, in your world, make sure that you are spreading, that you are focusing on, and I know you do this, Joe. I really do. I am absolutely certain you do this. When you're dealing with people, I'm dead certain that you treat pretty much everybody you meet as best you can, the way you desire to be treated. The more people that do this, the more people that quit separating themselves and saying, oh, you don't believe in the same God I do, therefore you're bad. Oh my gosh, you're a different color than me. You're evil. When people realize that we are all connected, this is when these shootings start slowing down and eventually come to a halt. I have seen a civilization where there was no war, none at all. No jealousy, no war. Okay. There was certainly pain and certainly fear. Okay. And the other thing that was gone was greed. Okay. And as long as you keep that in mind, here's the thing. The 10 Commandments that you growing up in the church may have read, okay, have been badly butchered. And yes, I know that's going to upset some people. Hopefully it doesn't get me hung up on. Okay, if it does, I'll apologize ahead of time. That said, just in case that sort of thing happens, remember, guys, I wonder if I did this. Just remember, if I do vanish, that email address is the best one to contact me with. Okay. Now, moving on to what Black Dragon has to say here. Black Dragon has mentioned social network is the worst thing to happen in civilization. Not at all. As a matter of fact, it's probably debatably one of the better ones, because what it did, and this is where it looks worse, is it took what people were thinking, where you had to think about what you were saying and who you were saying it to. Okay. It turned around and got people putting out all the negative energy that they were thinking about and dropping it in the world, okay, for everybody to look at. The sad part is, once it gets there into the social media network, it's there forever until there's a glitch, okay? But what we have to remember, you have a choice. You see all this stuff that's posting, oh, here's an article about who shot who. Here's an article about who kidnapped who. Or now you get the choice. Read that and repost it. Or move to the next one that says, hey, here's a picture of a black bear fishing a crow out of the water. Okay, that fell in the water and can't get out and is going to drown. Or here is a picture, here's a video that shows a young lady helping a crippled elder person, or just a standard person carrying, perfectly healthy person carrying a load of boxes. Here's somebody opening the door for them. You can choose to look at these things and flood your world with these positive images, or you can choose to watch the negative ones or the embarrassing videos. Okay, what people have been taught over the years with the way that society has evolved, has, in my opinion, devolved back to where we were in Sodom and Gomorrah, in all fairness, is we've been taught to ignore personal accountability. Okay, now, that being said, what time are we here? We are at... Okay, I told you I was going to give you an answer somewhere close to the 6 o'clock mark. Okay, the one thing where it comes to a leader, the person that my father actually pointed out very emphatically, he goes, look, if you desire, and I wholeheartedly believe in this, if you desire somebody to step into a leadership position, okay, my dad flat out, he goes, look, you desire to find somebody to take on a leadership position, find the person that doesn't desire that position. Find the one that is reluctant to step into that role. Give them the job, because they are the one that is not going to let anybody coerce them into doing anything. They're going to delegate whatever they can to as many people as possible, so as not to become the icon that everybody turns to and says, he's got all the answers, let him do it. Okay. And I'm a firm believer, the person that comes up and goes, let me take the role, let me take the leadership, I'll show you how to make this happen. Okay, there are countless examples of people that have said, hey, let me take control of the country, of your company, I'll show you how to make it work. And what do they almost invariably do? They turn around almost invariably. I intend to change that in my end, but what do we got here? Black Dragon goes, for your information, manifestos are a bunch of BS. Think about it. Why would anyone post can't read that. Post or keep a manifesto if they are going to commit a crime? Well, the ironic part of it is most people won't tell you that they're going to commit a crime. Okay, but a manifesto is only useful if you're actually laying out a set of rules that are applicable to everyone in that society. Okay, the moment they do not apply to everybody, they are going to end up creating a subculture. Okay, in said subculture, if the rules are not applicable to everyone in that subculture, it will again fracture. It'll fracture again. Net result, we have the world of today. Okay, I love the way somebody put it. And I saw a post the other day that goes, for those of you that are claiming to be non-binary, okay, bad news. He goes by saying, and I'm just paraphrasing, okay, I just happen to agree with the way he put it. He, she, it, I don't know. Okay, but the way I saw it posted was, if you're claiming to be non-binary, then what you're claiming is you, one party, is non-binary. Everybody else is binary. This in and of itself makes you binary by default. Take a look at it. You're male or you're female, a binary designation. You're non-binary or you're binary, a binary designation. We've got to quit looking at ways to make ourselves more and more different. Okay, and this is why I was looking for commonality qualities of leadership. Okay, this is one of those things that is absolutely imperative. Okay, that we've got to take a look at and start realizing this is where it's going. Okay, because if you don't, if we continue on the same road that we're currently on, what's going to happen is, and you can look through the history books, I look through my memory banks. Okay, we went through this several centuries ago. Rome did the same thing. So did the monarchies. Okay, they separated the people and said, we're better than everybody else. Therefore, do what I say or I'll kill you. I'm thinking this didn't work out all that well. You think about it. The monarchies across the board were going, do what I say or I'm going to kill you. The monarchies are all but dead, and the general population is alive. I absolutely agree with you there, Celeste. Okay, the human race is and I know people are upset about this. Call it a physicality, call it what you will. But the human race requires, in order to procreate, whether you do it together or do it in a test tube, it still requires a male, a female. Okay, they don't have to agree on anything in the world at all. All they have to be is one male, one female, and you end up with a kid. Okay, not all the time. But this whole issue of, I don't agree with this. I take a look at the way society is going, and it's going down a really backwards road. Okay, we are supposed to be working to come together. Okay, and I'm telling you, the people in this room are phenomenal. Okay, now maybe I'm a little biased. Okay, but I don't care. I'm allowed to be on me. You're allowed to be biased. The thing you're not, again, free will, free choice. Your call what you do with it. You don't have freedom of consequence. Okay. And I will tell you, one day somebody's going to call me up and go, I want to discuss the Bible with you on air. I am 100% for doing such. Okay. I just won't do it on my stream, because I'm not about to risk being shut down by YouTube. Not because I've got a problem with YouTube. YouTube has its own rules, its own guidelines, and therefore I will adhere to them to the best of my ability. But am I willing to step into the spotlight at this point and debate the Bible? Somebody wants to invite me on their show for that purpose. I got no problem with it. Okay, I got no problem with going on anybody's show to talk. I'm quite good at putting my foot in my mouth. And in answer to that neat little question, why should you believe what I'm saying? To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Where are we? I'm just reading this. Joe goes, I had the same talk with my dad earlier today in the living room. My mom was in the living room as well, but I was being direct with him. He gave me a look like, what's wrong with you? And the reality is, the reality is, Joe, your father has spent his lifetime believing one set of things. Okay. Now, presumably your father is as old as I am, or maybe older. Okay. He's got a number of decades of seeing the world in one fashion. Now, trying to get him to wrap his brain around a different outlook may be a little complicated. I lucked out. I've been looking at the world this way since I was a youngster. When I was 6 years old, I was questioning in class, in Sunday school, the actual information in the Bible then. Okay. I still question things. And I absolutely encourage you to question the same things. If you've got questions regarding the way I look at the world, absolutely put your question in all caps, partial caps, at least a wavy finger. A wavy hand to let me know. Preferably not a wavy finger. I'm lucky I can't do this. In this form, I just can't do. That's because those fingers don't on the whole separate. But something to keep in mind. If you desire the world to change from what you're seeing, okay, it is time we step up the game and start making it happen in our individual lives. Okay. I do have to ask there, Joe. You had this same talk with your dad earlier today. In your eyes, did it go well? The talk, I mean. And I don't mean did he agree with everything. Clearly, he didn't understand entirely what you were looking at, which, by the way, means you've got a normal father-son relationship. And by the way, Black, yes, I do. In my freezer right now, I do actually have 2 or 3 packages of bacon just waiting to be eaten. They'll have to wait until they're thawed out. But I'm looking at the issue of how do we identify a leader? Okay. How do you choose a leader to follow? Not what political party do you follow? Okay, because I will tell you this. I've talked to some politicians that have some brilliant ideas, but the leader in the political group is completely whacked, considering what they're looking at. But Angels, how you doing? Glad you could join us. When we're talking about a leader, I'm not necessarily talking about somebody that steps into the front of a building and starts beating on a pulpit or starts beating on a book. Okay, I'm talking about the leader that turns around and goes, here's what I'm doing. Now, my father made it very clear. If you're going to pick a leader, follow one that actually does what they talk about you doing. My father was always, he had some bad traits. He was not perfect. Okay. But he was consistent in the idea of treat people the way you desire to be treated. Now, for those of you that actually follow the Bible and follow the teachings in it, I'm going to posit something to you. Okay. Derek, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I'm going to posit something to you. The theory is that Moses brought the 10 Commandments down and turned them over to the people. However, and do not take my word for this, go back and check chapter 1 or chapter 2 of Exodus. When Moses brought the first tablets down, nobody saw what was written on them. He didn't even show them to Aaron. Go check it out for yourself. Okay, he shattered the tablets before anybody saw the first set. Okay, now I will tell you what was on them, and you get to figure out whether you believe it or not. There were only 3 laws on the tablets to start with. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Those were the only 3 laws. Simple, straightforward, cut and dry. Okay, how I know this, you get to figure out. But I'm drawing that information from memory. The proof I've got is the fact that in the book of Exodus, chapter 1 or chapter 2, it tells you he shattered the tablets before he ever got to show them to anybody. Okay, now that leaves a lot of questions open. But when we are talking about finding a leader, my father always said, you find the guy that doesn't want the leadership position, because that's the one that will do their best to not get on a pedestal, to delegate whatever work they can, okay, and to make sure everybody, to the best of their ability, is heard. Okay, it's the person that says, I'm going to take command. Yeah, I'm going to. Well, I'll tell you, it's great to have somebody lead the country if they're leading the country in the direction of unification, not segregation. Okay, same as, the same thing applies to anybody striving to step up and run a corporation. Okay, you've got to be treating everybody equally. Yes, different levels of responsibility get certain perks. Absolutely. But they should not include stripping the other people of their abilities to survive. If we are going to change this world, we've got to do it as a unified race, or at least a unified people. Because some of you will tell me, oh, I'm not human. Okay, or I don't believe that I am. I come from such and such a planet. Let me tell you, in my opinion, 90% of you that claim to come from another planet, okay, yeah, and I have no doubt, like, the commandments have been broken down a lot, okay, but take a look at those 3. I'm not going to argue with you there, Emmy. I don't recall there being more than 10 commandments in the Christian Bible. That doesn't mean they don't exist. I do know the Church of Satan has 11. Okay, and there's a whole lot more in some of the other religions. But compare all the commandments you know of to those 3. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Compare all of the rules, all the laws, all the guidelines, all the commandments, okay, to those 3. And see if they don't, in fact, all fit inside. If you find one that doesn't, absolutely do me a favor. Get back to me one that doesn't fit, because I'm still looking for the one that doesn't. Thus far, I haven't found it. Okay, and like I said, I am not perfect by any stretch. Last thing I was ever intending was to step out of the shadows and into the spotlight. Turns out I kind of have to. That's just the reality of it. Oh, here's a complete sidetrack for you. Couldn't get one of these to bloom in my house, so I bought one that did. It's just a Christmas cactus. Okay, but figured I'd buy one that has the blooms already and see what happens with it. As you can see, that little red pot behind me, that's another one. That's a poinsettia back there. Because I decided it was time to bring some actual plants in the house, see if I could get some of them to work. Now, the one thing, like I said, when you're looking at a leader, at either following a leader or becoming one, okay, these are the qualities and the ones I've written down here. And I did this for a reason. These are going to be worked on to put together, because my outlook is this. Yes, I have chosen to step finally out of the shadows in force and go, okay, here's what I can see happening. Now, you don't have to believe me. I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. I am certainly here to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. There are going to be those of you that don't like the idea, especially those of you that are looking in the mirror going, I've got this and this going for me, so I'm better than you. You know, like you take a look at somebody, and many people do this. Look at somebody that's got no arms and go, you're handicapped. Well, I'm telling you, I watched somebody the other day. Somebody made a video of this woman painting a portrait. Okay, now I can't draw a face properly if my life depended on it right now. Okay, although I have started working on that. This woman painted a phenomenally lifelike portrait with her feet. Okay, because she didn't have any arms. Okay, yes, people have different strengths and different weaknesses. I've got the phenomenal capacity, apparently, to completely scramble video, and I can't do much about that. Okay, but the other thing about the commandments I'm looking at is this. You've got 10 commandments, and so many people have trouble following all 10, which is understandable given what they are. But I'm lucky I only have 3 to follow. Okay, but like I said, check yours out with those 3 and see what you come up with. Now, are there any other additions to the qualities that make a good, that you feel indicate a good leader? Okay. See, and all these different topics that I was talking about earlier they do work in conjunction with each other. Now, what do we got here? Got to work on those and get those dealt with. Like I said, this coming week, I haven't got anything organized for tomorrow, so we'll see what that does. But on the 11th, we are, like I said earlier in the stream, going with the alien concept on Mondays. We're going with the beginning of the consortium. Where did it begin? Why did it begin? How did the laws come out about it? Okay. On Tuesday, we'll be looking at creating a new character, gaming wise. Okay. Then we're going to look at on the 13th, what does the future hold? What kind of impact do you have on it? Or what kind of control may you have? What kind of influence? I won't be on Thursday. On Friday, I'm going to deal with the functionality of creation. Now, what would you do if I told you that the concept of creationism and evolution are inextricably entwined? Okay, we're going to take a look at that on Friday. I saw something written here. Oh, there we go. Oh, and he goes, regarding the commandments, I just Googled it. There were 613 commandments, but they weren't included in the Bible because they were obsolete. Now, if only we could do that with many of the laws that are on the books. Okay. But again, even if you look at all at all 613. And here's a bizarre question for you there, Emmy. Do they actually give you where you found it? Do they actually give you the list? Okay, just a curiosity thing. But that's sad. Compare them all to the 3 I just listed and see if any of them fall outside of those 3. Okay, on the 15th, on Friday, we are going to be looking at the functionality of creation. And then on the 16th, on Saturday, we're going to look at literally creating a new you. What have we got? Okay. I'm just looking at this, and you are absolutely right there, Celeste. The body is mostly liquid. Yeah, somewhere in there, there's got to be a list. I follow 3 laws because, well, frankly, it saves me a lot of headaches. I don't have to remember as many. But, like I said, the one person you really would be wise, in my opinion, to look at, if you're looking to follow a leader, if you're looking for somebody to light the way, number 1, make certain they don't desire control. Because the moment they desire control, they're going to start going, you've got to do it my way because my way works. Okay, I'll tell you right now, my way works for me perfectly, but it's the only way I've got that does work. Okay, I've tried these other ideas. Prime example, I went bankrupt twice based on the guidance of so-called professionals. Both cases, I should never have gone bankrupt. Now I guide people around that so they don't have to go bankrupt, but can still get ahead using their own money. Again, we are going to take a look at that and streamline it to make it as functional as possible. Oh, thank you so much for the clarification there, Celeste. As you well know, or at least as most people should know, I do my best to follow, but I'm certainly going to miss a lot of the comments that go through. So thank you so much for clarifying that. I wonder, does that actually have that option? No. I was just looking to see if it was possible to change ratios, but apparently not. But when we look at changing your life for what you consider the better, I strongly urge you to talk to somebody that has successfully done what you're aiming for. Now, I have discovered you guys have more information and more awareness than most of the so-called professionals I've run into. Okay, this is why I ask you guys questions, because I get much more direct answers and much more useful ones. Okay, that's just the way my observations have led things. Now, where am I right now? Oh, there we are. Ouch. Well, that's painful. The thing we have to remember is we've got the option of following people that are spewing information about how the world is going to end. We're all going to die in poverty and starvation. You can listen to that. You can follow that. That's what makes you happy. Absolutely go ahead. I will tell you, it does lead to a rather disappointing end. Okay. But like I said, when you're looking at following a leader, make certain first and foremost the individual, whether it's male, female, or your next door neighbor's dog, doesn't matter. Okay, if they do not desire leadership per se, much more importantly, make certain whatever they're talking about, they themselves are following. Okay, if somebody tells you the material world doesn't matter, then they will not, if they're honest about that, they will not be asking you for all your material stuff. Okay, because it doesn't matter to them. Now, I have come to the understanding that in today's world, you do have to pay attention to where your finances are. And rest assured, this is one of those topics, and I will probably look at that tomorrow, Saturday. And because I don't have a topic listed, I will probably be looking at finances and the basic way of stabilizing them. Okay, using your money. There's a lot of books out there. There's a lot of other books out there that will tell you how to make money work if you've got $40,000 or $50,000. I work with it if you've got two. Emmy, the answer to your question. Emmy's asking, do you know anything about working with crystals and other stones? I know the basics. It is not my strong suit, but I will show you something here. This book here is the one I personally use. Okay, it's the one that I keep in hand. Okay, now there is one that has pictures as well. This one that I've got is just the words. But that's the book I personally use. And let's see. Hopefully, there you go. I'm just going to hold it there for a minute so you can get it. Okay, but that's the book. Love is in the Earth by, who's it by? Melody. By Melody. Okay, that's the one I keep in my library. And obviously I keep it in hand because I didn't even have to leave the chair. Okay. But that's the one, and you can pick that up at literally any bookstore. Okay, you should be able to find it. Okay, now I do know one thing I do know is the big ones are quartz as an amplifier, amethyst helps open the third eye up, and both citrine and malachite are great for enhancing financial flow, material prosperity, whereas hematite and moldavite are great for grounding. Well, hematite is great for grounding. Moldavite is great for connecting the astronomical world, the off world, with the physical one. Now, Joe's going, okay, here's a good one. Autistic empath, because I talk like I'm autistic when I'm not. I'm still trying to figure out what talking like you're in autistic is. I keep getting, like, I was diagnosed mentally retarded. I've been tested. Apparently, nothing's wrong with me. But, is it possible to have an autistic empath? Certainly. Thing you got to remember, autistic simply means they're looking at the world in a different fashion than what you are, or than what other people are. An empath is simply somebody that physically picks up on what other people are going through. Well, suggestion there, Emmy. I've got a chunk of tiger's eye. I just forget what it's for. But just an odd suggestion. If it makes you cringe when you pick it up, rational thought process, don't pick it up. But let's take a look at something here. See, when I open this up, I'll take those off so I can actually read it. P. QS. What I'm looking for is literally tiger's eye. See, I'd love to say I know everything, and I can. See, I can say that. I know everything. I frankly know just enough to know I don't know enough. But let us take a peek at the still in S. Here we are. Now, this is read literally right out of this book, right out of Love is in the Earth. Tiger eye is a quartz replacement of crocodylite, blue asbestos, or of gold asbestos. It differs from cat's eye with respect to the configuration of the fibers. The fibers are twisted and crumpled instead of straight. It exhibits a quality of chatilloncy, which I really don't know what that is. It might be a misword, but I don't know. Due to the reflection of light by the fiber structure. The color range includes red, brown, gold, cream, black, and blue. Jumping down a little, it's helpful for people and for individuals seeking clarity and for those who must deal intelligently with the scattered details which must. Okay. The ISBN number is 0962819-3-4. Okay. Now, absolutely, and there's I don't know if you can read that. That should help. But that's the book I keep in my office. Okay, like I said, clearly I keep it at hand since it's right within reach. Hey, look at that. Clear video. Nice timing. Yeah, and that is ultimately, Celeste, that is very much the issue. You know, sometimes the energy will create a cross current. Okay, but that's a question of learning how to work with it. In my experience, anyway. Am I really that far along? We are so. Now, with that in mind, guys, thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I really do appreciate it. Assuming things go well, I will be back again tomorrow. Okay. But I must say, thank you so much. I really do appreciate the support I get here. You know, it's just absolutely phenomenal. If you like the stream, absolutely do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. It's time we start moving to making this a better world. Raven, glad you could drop in. Sadly, we're just bringing things to a close here. But what we were looking at through the day and throughout the stream was the qualities that people see as necessary in a true leader. Now, I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.